Thanks for staying. Welcome back. Now, prices of imports have recorded a jump for the period between October and November, causing an increase in inflation rate to 11.7%. This constitutes an increase of 0.1% as compared with the rate of 11.6% last month. The main price drivers for the period include clothing and footwear, transport, and among others. Addressing journalists in Accra, acting government statistician Ban Wadie attributed the marginal hike in inflation to price changes for non-food items purchased within the boundaries of the country. They later explained to Joy Business.
We explained that the marginal upward change in the inflation rate was due mainly to the rise of inflation in components of the non-food group. We have transport recorded an inflation rate of 18.6%. We have clothing and footwear 18.3%, recreation and culture 17.1%, furnishing, household equipment and routine maintenance a rate of 15.2%, and miscellaneous goods and services 14.0%. These were the key price drivers for the non-food group.
So if I may come in here, what contribution does the imported items play here?
Yeah, we also observed that imported items recorded a rise in its inflation rate, and on the convex, locally produced items recorded a dip in the inflation rate.
So the imported items moved the inflation?
Yes, and imported items actually influenced the upward movement in the non-food group.
Now, the new owner of ADB, Belstar Capital, is set to move its interest in the institution to Unibank. This is subject to securing the necessary regulatory approvals from the Bank of Ghana and the Securities and Exchange Commission. George Rafe has more.
Joy Business understands Belstar has given existing shareholders, especially government, the first right before it considers other investors in selling its investment in ADB to secure the expected amount. Sources say the decision might have been influenced by government's move to merge ADB and NIB, which may have not gone down well with the new owner of ADB, which is said to have some significant holding in the bank. When this transaction is concluded, Belstar should move at least 600 million Ghana cedis into Unibank, which will be in the form of debt and equity. However, this will not make Belstar the new owner of Unibank, but rather have significant stake in that bank. The capital injection will help increase Unibank's minimum capital requirement to almost 500 million Ghana cedis, helping it join the league of banks that have already met the new capital levels of 400 million Ghana cedis, and possibly the most capitalized bank in Ghana, even before the December 2018 deadline. Sources say Belstar has already reached an agreement in principle to carry out this transaction, subject to securing the required regulatory approvals. For some industry players, this move by Belstar could give credence to reports that government's plan to merge NIB and ADB could come on by next year.
In a related development, Access Bank has secured shareholders' approval to raise up to 450 million cedis. 300 million cedis will be done through rights issue to help meet new capital levels of 400 million cedis, whilst the 150 million cedis would be raised through corporate bonds to meet its funding needs. The bank got this endorsement to carry out this transaction yesterday as an extraordinary general meeting. Access Bank, by this move, becomes the second commercial bank to turn to the capital market to raise fresh capital to recapitalize after HFC Bank. Now, moving on, the minority in Parliament is demanding a halt in the reported ongoing process to get the second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, out of office. Deputy Minority Leader James Afeji says the move is wrong and will unduly cost the taxpayers' money. Now let's get to Parliament live on phone, where our correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo will update us on this particular development. Good afternoon, Joseph. Welcome to the marketplace.
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
All right, so Joseph, what is the basis of the minority's decision or the minority's claim to this?
So I've been having a conversation with Deputy Minority Leader James Afeji, who is also a former chairman of Parliament Finance Committee. And he makes the point that he thinks these efforts to remove the deputy governor is something that's not new. He says they've seen it before with even some of the previous persons, including the former governor, who was eventually made to resign. And so, although he hasn't heard from the deputy governor emphatically state that he's been forced, that he thinks that what they're seeing now is something that they've seen before. So he's convinced that they get the deputy governor out. And he goes on to say that he thinks this is bad for the country because he has about 3 years left on his contract. If he's forced out at this juncture, someone else will be playing his role, and the state will still be paying him for the 3 years that will follow. And this will virtually amount to a situation of double payments, and it's the taxpayers' money that's paying, which is not a good thing. And so, in his words, he is advising the government and officials at the Bank of Ghana and at the Finance Ministry that they shouldn't go ahead and terminate or force the deputy governor to resign. They should wait when his 3-year contract expires, then they take advantage of that opportunity to bring in a new person. He's again even worried that this situation may, to a certain extent, hurt investor confidence and confidence generally in the banking sector, because he makes the point that, as far as he knows, there are rules and the Banking Act and all the regulations that govern how things should be done in the banking sector. But we've seen a situation of, in his words, the NPP government using the back door to force people who still have durations in their contracts out. And so he thinks that investors and people who are coming into the country to put in money will then be asking questions, and eyebrows will be raised about how their hands could be changed and all to get things done. So he thinks this could again affect confidence in the banking sector, and so government should prove brakes on any effort to get the deputy governor stepped down.
Now, Joseph, do they have wind or evidence that somebody in government is trying to push the second deputy governor out? Because time and time again, he has insisted that he's not out, he's not resigned yet. So what is the basis, actual basis for this particular claim?
Deputy Minority Leader James Afeji cites media reports that is, and then he makes the point that we've seen it before in the case of even previous governors under the NPP administration over the last 1 year who stepped out. He makes the point that he thinks serving in the role as governor or deputy governor is a very lucrative one. People earn a lot for being there. Again, there's a lot of respect that goes with it. And so people will not just sleep and wake up and decide that they are stepping down. Usually when they are doing that, it's because one powerhouse or one force or the other is pushing them out. That's usually what happens. And so he puts all of those pieces together and say they are seeing a similar situation as that, which played out even with the former governor himself. And so they don't point to any specific evidence, but they say what they've seen. It gives them the indication and convinces them that someone is trying to get the deputy governor out.
Are they giving any move if government or if the otherwise happens?
So I asked the deputy minority leader that specifically about what they here in Parliament can do if they think this process is not good enough, and so it should be stopped. And he says that, well, especially when the individual in question is not complaining, there isn't much that they can do except to caution and to advise government to tread cautiously in that particular regard. They will continue sounding the warnings and drawing attention to the possible negative implications of he thinks they don't have the power even here in Parliament to take any specific. He thinks that it's about time that ordinary members of the public stood up and let's stop this. And that's the action that they are pursuing, asking the public to step out there and draw attention. When this happens, it's the taxpayers' money that's going down the drain. So the ordinary taxpayers should get up there and voice their objection to this for government to hear and pull the brake.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, for your time. That was parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo commenting on minorities' decision in Parliament, or claim to in Parliament on government to halt the decision to take away or oust the second deputy governor of the central bank, Dr. Johnson Siama. Away from that, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, says plans are advanced to make Ghana the hub of business in Africa. CEO of the center, Geoffrey Grant, has been outlining key areas government will be prioritizing in 2018 to achieve this objective. According to him, access to capital and strengthening of business regulations in the country will go a long way to increase foreign direct investment in the country. He spoke with Joy Business at the CEO's breakfast meeting organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center.
Business, private sector, and private sector over the years has had a rough time building up capital in this country. And I did mention that indigenously and domestically, we have not been very good at capital formation. And so you might meet potential great Ghanaian investors. And when you speak to them, then you realize that what they need the most is capital. And that makes it very difficult for them to invest. But we also don't want to see an economy that is fully foreign dominated. And so we want to ensure that even when there's foreign direct investment, it is in partnership with indigenous entrepreneurial talent. But apart from that, also to ensure that indigenous people can participate in the global value chains of these companies and acquire the requisite knowledge, experience, capacity, and capability to also become global someday. At the end of the day, what we want to see is Ghanaians become millionaires and billionaires as well. And even though we want to see a very much enlarged business environment, because that will also create jobs for people, and that's very important. We also want to make sure that we have an economy that is Ghanaian owned. And the best way to do that is to make sure that when foreign direct investment comes, it partners with Ghanaians. And that is a faster way of building Ghanaian capacity. I believe that the foundations that the economy is building today through the various agencies, Ministry of Finance, irreversibility and sustainability of a smooth growth paradigm, fiscal discipline and curbing corruption and all these things will create a very good foundation for foreign investors to find Ghana attractive. We believe that we do have the natural resource. Ghana is a very rich resource country. I mean, apart from gold, the gold, diamonds, iron ore, bauxite, manganese, we have other minerals that we can use, like salt, like all the other jewels and gems that we have. They are here. There are many other things, that we can actually develop on. But beyond that, the whole concept of repositioning as a regional hub means that you are ready now to engage both the investor and the market in West Africa. And so a lot of the reforms that are being done is to reposition Ghana in that space, that if you come to West Africa, you absolutely have no choice but to set up in Ghana.
Are you confident that this very target by the GIPC is going to be sustained in the coming year?
I believe so. This is a government that is extremely committed to its agenda. Very, very committed to its agenda. And it's very clear where, government wants to take the country. And I'm very confident, and I'm happy doing what we are doing, that I see light at the end of the tunnel. This year, as you know, the economy has chalked some very successful positive steps. For example, we inherited a GDP growth of 3.3%. We're on track to achieve 7.9%, way beyond what was projected in the first budget. We've seen interest rates come down. We've seen the deficit drop significantly. And so we are setting the template for a great economy.
Meanwhile, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is impressing on government to also focus on strengthening the local sector. According to the CEO of the association, Ghana cannot improve if local industries suffer to thrive.
AGI is the main industrial association, and therefore any efforts to develop industries is something that we truly welcome. I know there have been some initiatives in the past. As to whether they've worked well or not, these are new initiatives as well. I think what is important, as they say, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. So we want to see the actual implementation and effective implementation as such. And if it's well implemented, I think the concept, the initiatives, the ideas are brilliant. And it is all of us that have to get on board for it to work. So we are confident that it can work, but it's not going to be easy. The interest in investing in Ghana is very high. We talk to a lot of international businesses. We talk to foreign companies that are coming around to look for businesses. And the perception you get is that it's quite positive as far as Ghana investment environment is concerned. But then we need to move to the next stage of ensuring that they actually invest, so that they don't just come and go, but they actually, we put systems in place that attracts them to invest. So we are confident that it can work, but it will not be easy. We really need to work hard at it.
But beyond this, what are some of the precautionary measures or advice that the AGI has for government?
Well, a couple of things. One, most foreign investors that come into the country, after speaking to the government agencies, speaking to the ministries and all that, they also talk to the private sector. And in talking to the private sector, there is some kind of information they always try to seek. How are they performing? How is the private sector in Ghana doing? And that is where they actually make their final decisions on, not what we tell them in forums like this. So beautifully presenting initiatives and concepts is good, but not good enough. And therefore, we appreciate the effort to also grow local industries, because when they come, the performance of local industries is a major yardstick for them to take a decision. If local industries are not doing well, they'll ask themselves, if you there who understand the business environment even better and you are part of it, you are not doing well, why should I come and invest my money?
Now, the Ghana cedi recorded one of its strongest gains in recent times on the interbank market yesterday. The local currency, after staying within the 4 cedi 50 peso range last week, dropped to 4 cedis 48 pesos. The following business desk report has more.
According to some market operators, the local currency's gain was influenced by significant dollar injection by the Bank of Ghana, resulting in some banks getting as much as $2 million. Some market players have described as the biggest support by the Bank of Ghana in a while, compared to previous intervention by the regulator. This resulted in the local currency recovering strongly at the end of trading yesterday. A careful look at the numbers over the past 3 weeks showed some downward slide. A trend, if sustained, could lessen the panic buying of dollars and even activities of speculators. The development over the past week would indeed help reduce the cost of operations of firms in the import business that had complained this has impacted on their profits.
Meanwhile, recent current reports indicate that the run on the market yesterday might have been short-lived. It went up, the cedi went up marginally again today on the interbank market. It's opened this morning at 4 Ghana cedis 51 pesos after going down slightly to 4 Ghana cedis 48 pesos yesterday. Now, I beg your pardon, after some significant dollar support, which saw even some banks get as much as $2 million. We'll bring some more updates in a subsequent bulletin. Now, residents of Adenta and surrounding areas would benefit from the Ayalulu bus transit system as from January next year. This, according to the director from the Ministry of Transport, Rudolph Beckley, will help improve transport services within the city. He made the disclosure at the inauguration of a 17-member board of the Ayalulu bus service in Accra.
The 17-member board by managers of the Ayalulu bus service will have oversight responsibility of the Greater Accra Passenger Transport Executive, as well as regulate public transport in Accra. The board consists of all 12 MMDAs in Accra and the Senya Ewutu East in the Central Region. Speaking to Joy Business at inauguration, Director at the Ministry for Transport, Rudolph Beckley, explained a key area for consideration next year is to get the Adenta Accra stretch of the Ayalulu bus service running.
The Honourable Minister of Transport and the Honourable Minister of Roads and Highways have put together a technical team to look at the infrastructure that will be needed from Adenta to the CBD and come up with ways to resolve such problems. So far we've met about 3 times already. And one of the key things we have addressed is the issue of dedication, where we will provide some dedicated routes for this quality bus system so that travel time will be improved. We even have identified locations for bus stops And we know these bus stops are very relevant for the operation of this quality bus system. So bus stops have also been identified. We are in the process of deploying the bus stops. And in all this, we are looking at rolling out effectively on the Adenta corridor, latest by the 20th of January.
When opened, the Adenta stretch will transport passengers from Adenta and surrounding areas to the Central Business District. According to the Municipal Chief Executive of the Adenta Municipal Assembly, the introduction of the service will improve transport services to and within the designated area. He, however, indicated that some roads needed to be fixed.
If we can have high occupancy vehicles like buses, then a lot of people will leave their vehicles at home. And indeed, the facility we have in Adenta is a park and ride. So you can come and park your vehicle and go into a bus that will come into Accra at a particular time, and then come back and pick your vehicle and go home. Hopefully, it means that we'll be able to create stressless travels for people. People will have more time to sleep. People will have more time to travel. The Reese Junction, which is very close to that particular place, already has a large volume of traffic. There are conflicts there sometimes.
Which junction?
Reese Junction. You know the Reese Junction? You don't know the Reese Junction. It's an intersection which borders Medina, Agboba area, and Ashalebochi as well. And a lot of the times there's a lot of traffic there. So you can imagine buses are also coming in there, or people are also traveling in there to go and park their vehicles. It means you're increasing the volume over there. We're thinking about a back access route, so that people from Adenta or the northern side will not have to come to Reese Junction to get to the facility.
Despite some challenges encountered, Ayalolo bus service has brought a lot of relief to passengers.
Product packaging is an important tool in attracting consumers. Most manufacturers place premiums on this when introducing new product lines. Indigenous carton manufacturing firm Fund Packaging Ventures since 2014 has been providing packaging solutions for manufacturers both at home and abroad. Today on the Joy Business Van, we will be speaking to the Managing Director, Emmanuel Osain Tim, at the company's outer modern factory. Here's what to expect.
The main problem, or the main reason why Ghanaian products are losing out, is because of the quality. Quality is essentially that final step, but the most important step that sets your product apart from another product. Quality in terms of the final product, quality in terms of the packaging. Because most people do not regard packaging because they see it as something you just take your product out of and discard at the end of the day, which is true. But at the end of the day, the package is what is transporting your goods from point A to point B. And the supply chain metrics are always important in any manufacturing process or any products that you're selling out to your customer. The carton is useful because that's what advertises your product. That's what protects your product. And that's what the medium by which you get the products to your consumers or to the outlets. So packaging is very, very important because, as we've hit on a number of times, the middle income class in Ghana is growing rapidly. So now you have more and more people shopping in the supermarkets and shopping malls as opposed to the open air markets in the past. And this increase in shoppers from the supermarkets means that there'll be more demand for consumer goods. And the only way or the only medium by which these consumer goods get to these shop shelves is through cartons. So definitely there's a huge reliance on packaging, and in order for the Ghanaian manufacturer to set their product apart from anyone else's, they need to focus on the quality. And that's what we are offering here, very, very good, strong quality carton for the consumer.
For the full story, catch the Joy Business Van later this evening on Business Live with Daryl Kwao. And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace with me, Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. Thanks so much for your company, and let's meet again same time tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.